You know, Gayatri, every summer now feels worse than the last one. Hotter roads, warmer nights, unbearable afternoons, and somewhere between heat waves and floods, polluted air and disappearing winters come into play. Climate action has stopped feeling like a future problem. It has become our everyday reality now.
Exactly, Ritvik. We grew up hearing phrases like global warming and save the environment so often that they almost started sounding like textbook vocabulary. But today, climate change is no longer just a chapter in geography class. It's the food we eat, it's the air we breathe, it's the temperature we survive in, and the disasters we scroll past every single day.
And the craziest part, Gayatri, planet has been warning us for decades. Scientists warned us, environmentalists warned us, even nature warned us. But humanity said collectively that, let's move past it anyway. And continued cutting forests, polluting oceans, and treating Earth like a disposable water bottle.
Meanwhile, the Earth is literally fighting for its life. Oceans are heating up, glaciers are melting, farmers are losing crops, cities are becoming unbearably hot, and weather patterns, they are just becoming more and more unpredictable every year.
And honestly, for us in India, climate change hits differently because one extreme summer, one failed crop season, or one flood is enough to affect millions of people instantly.
All in all, you listeners are in the right place. This is Earthwise
or Otherwise,
a weekly climate news roundup brought to you by Climate Action Live in collaboration with the Jindal School of Journalism and Communication.
Every week, we bring you climate stories from around the world, along with people's voices, cultural reflections, and small actions that we can take in our everyday lives. On this journey, I'm Ritvik.
And I'm Gayatri. Two perspectives, but one shared concern. The planet we call our home.
This is Earthwise or Otherwise.
Because the real question isn't what being Earthwise looks like.
It is also what the cost of choosing otherwise might just be.
Today's episode is not about scaring you. It's about waking all of us up a little bit. Because awareness without action is just information.
So, in this episode, we are breaking down major national and international climate stories that are making headlines right now. What's happening, why it matters, and why our generation cannot afford to ignore it anymore.
And don't worry, we'll keep it real, conversational, and slightly less depressing than your assignment deadlines.
So, grab your headphones, lower your AC temperature guilt, and let's talk about the biggest crisis our generation is inheriting.
Let's begin the weekly national climate check-in where we break down what's happening across India.
From policy shift to ground level impact, here's everything you need to know before and after your country's changing climate story.
Let's start with some hopeful news for once. India has recently announced stronger climate targets for 2035. According to reports from NDTV and DD News, the country is aiming for a major reduction in emissions intensity and a larger shift towards clean energy.
Which basically means that India wants to reduce the amount of pollution produced while still continuing economic growth. And honestly, considering how massive our population and industries are, that is a huge responsibility.
Exactly. Reports say that India is planning to move towards a staggering figure. Solar and wind energy are becoming a much bigger part of the country's energy system.
And honestly, India has kind of no option. Summers are getting harsher every year, cities are heating up like a microwave oven, and at this point, stepping outside at say 2 p.m. feels like volunteering for a survival reality show.
True. Very true. But this announcement is important because it shows that climate action is finally becoming a national priority instead of just a discussion topic during international summits.
Also, Gayatri, renewable energy is no longer some future technology thing. It is happening now. You will notice more solar panels, more electric vehicles, and more conversations about sustainable living.
Although, let's be honest here, Ritvik, India still has a long way to go. Pollution levels in many cities remain dangerous. Forests continue to shrink in some areas, and public transport systems still need massive improvements.
Gayatri, do you know that if we modernize our grid and build enough battery storage, it is possible to power our lives entirely with renewables day or night?
But at least this is a step in the right direction. Because climate change is not a future issue anymore, Ritvik. It's a current issue with future consequences.
And this is where young people come in. Climate action isn't about governments signing agreements, small habits, and all of those things. Every little thing matters. Using public transport more often, reducing electricity wastage, and supporting sustainable brands that can actually create impact over time.
Also, please, if you leave fans and lights on in an empty room, just so you know, somewhere an electricity bill is crying. And you can't even complain about it because it's too hot outside when you're actively contributing to global heating.
And guys, for God's sake, educate yourselves, read about climate policies, understand renewable energy, and actually talk about these issues with people around you. And well, if you do not want to do all of that, listen to our podcast every week.
Because if our generation can make memes viral overnight, we can definitely make sustainability cool too.
Now, moving on to our second story. And Gayatri, this is about my favorite summer fruit.
Mango, right?
No, I'm not basic like that. I mean lychee. Sadly, there'll be fewer lychees in the market this year. And it is due to climate change. And this story sadly shows how climate change is directly affecting everyday people.
Oh yes, Ritvik, I know what you're talking about. Farmers in Bihar's Muzaffarpur regions have suffered massive losses in their famous lychee crop because of extreme heat and irregular weather. According to Down to Earth, nearly 70% of the crop has been damaged in some areas. And for farmers who depend on seasonal harvests for income, well, this is purely devastating.
And this is important because climate change discussions often feel distant. People think, oh, glaciers are melting somewhere far away. But no, this affects food, jobs, prices, and the livelihoods right here in India.
Exactly, Ritvik. Lychees are highly sensitive fruits. Excessive heat and unpredictable rainfall damage fruit growth and cause early drying. Farmers who spent months preparing for the harvest are now facing a huge financial loss.
And honestly, we already complain about when mango prices go up by 20 rupees. Imagine being the farmer whose entire income disappears because the weather suddenly decided to change.
Climate experts are warning that Indian agriculture is becoming more and more vulnerable every year. Crops are heavily dependent on stable seasons, but climate change is making weather increasingly unpredictable.
Floods in one state, droughts in another. Heat waves flooding the entire nation. It is like nature is itself confused.
And the scary part is that the agriculture is deeply connected to India's economy and food security. If climate conditions continue worsening, food production and prices could become a major national concern.
Which means climate change is not just an environmental issue anymore, Gayatri. It is an economic issue, a social issue, and honestly, a survival issue.
Well, the call to action to this is that we can do one important thing. We can support local farmers and sustainable agriculture, buying local produce, reducing food waste, and respecting seasonal food cycles that genuinely matter.
Also, maybe, Gayatri, don't order 5 dishes just for an aesthetic Instagram story for your food blogging page. Don't waste half the food. The planet and your wallet both deserve better.
Sure, Ritvik. But young people like me can also use social media to raise awareness about environmental issues affecting rural communities. Climate change doesn't only happen in cities. Villages and farmers often suffer first and then suffer more.
And honestly speaking, respecting the people who grow our food should be the bare minimum thing that we do.
Now, for our third national story, and this one feels extremely personal because most of us are literally living through it right now. The northern India is witnessing increasingly dangerous heat waves linked to climate change.
According to reports from the Times of India, regions including Delhi, Punjab, and Haryana are seeing longer and more intense heatwave periods. Even night temperatures are staying unusually high.
Which is honestly the worst part because nights are supposed to bring us relief. But now it feels like the heat simply refuses to log out.
And let's talk about how brutal this is for outdoor workers, delivery workers, construction workers, traffic police officers, street vendors. Imagine working under direct sunlight in the 45-degree weather every day.
Exactly. I just can't imagine. Climate change affects everyone, but not equally. People with air conditioners and indoor jobs are still more protected than those who work outside for survival.
Also, cities are becoming urban heat islands. Basically, concrete buildings, pollution, traffic, and lack of greenery trap heat and make the urban areas so much hotter.
Which exactly explains why stepping onto Delhi roads in summers feels like you're entering a tandoor.
Honestly, at this point, the sun wakes up every morning and chooses violence.
Doctors and climate experts are warning that extreme heat can increase dehydration, respiratory issues, heat stroke, and even deaths. And scientists believe that these conditions will keep worsening if global warming continues at this pace.
And that is why climate conversations cannot remain optional anymore. This is already affecting health, productivity, education, and our quality life.
The call to action to this is planting trees may sound cliche, but urban greenery genuinely helps reduce heat levels. Communities and colleges should actively invest in greener spaces.
Also, please carry a water bottle. Hydration is not a personality trait, it's survival. And if you are like Gayatri, carry a big Stanley water bottle.
Well, Ritvik, at least one of us has to take care of their hydration and their skin. Well, use public transports when possible, support sustainable city planning, and demand stronger environmental policies from authorities. Young voices, like us, matter more than we think.
And maybe, just maybe, let's stop treating climate change like a background information and start treating it like the emergency it actually is. Right, Gayatri?
Absolutely, Ritvik. Movies, music, fashion, social media trends, we consume all of it every day. But have you ever paused to think about the environmental footprint behind these choices?
Well, let's bring this conversation down to the ground with our Vox Pop segment.
To explore these questions further, our climate crew has been out and about speaking directly to people on campus.
Pratha Nayak and Samagra Thakur have been engaging with students, young audiences, and everyday listeners,
trying to understand how pop culture choices quietly shape the way we think about climate.
So, over to you both. Today, they asked people around campus whether social media influencers have greater responsibility to mitigate climate action change than the common citizens. Why or why not?
Yes, I do believe influencers carry much more responsibility for climate change than the average person. And the simple reason being here is reach. So when Kylie Jenner flies her private jet for a 17-minute trip and posts it online, she is not just wasting fuel. She's telling 400 million followers that this is normal, this is acceptable. And that's the moment when it doesn't really remain a lifestyle choice anymore. It becomes influence. But the same power can also flip towards a more positive direction. When Mr. Beast raised $23 million to plant 20 million trees in just weeks, that was something no ordinary citizen could even dream of achieving. So that's the power sitting unused in most influencers' hands. And the average person making eco-friendly choices cannot really hope for their decisions to have this big of a reach. So yes, with great power comes great responsibility, and the question we need to ask is that power being used properly? Is it being used well?
I do think that social media influencers have a greater responsibility when it comes to mitigating climate change, mainly because of the scale of the influence. An average person may affect the habits of few around them, but influencers, they shape the trends, lifestyles, and the consumer behavior of thousands or even millions of followers every single day. Because of that, their actions carry much larger consequences. A lot of digital culture today is also built around consumption. We constantly see fast fashion hauls, excessive PR packages, luxury vacations, and trends that encourage people to buy more than they actually need. Influencers may not have created climate change, but many of them have unintentionally normalized unsustainable lifestyles. So I think if someone has the power to influence public behavior on such massive scale, they also have the responsibility to be mindful of the message they're putting out.
I do think that social media influencers have a greater responsibility to, not maybe perhaps mitigate climate change as a whole, but speak up more about it, act more about it, because they have a larger platform, they have a larger voice, and they control the opinions and the thoughts of not just the youth, but everybody who's there on social media. I would equate it to, the CSR policy that many MNCs have to abide by, the corporate social responsibility, right? Where even though you're a big company, you're supposed to abide by certain do-good factors towards the society, and climate change is one of them. Now, equate the MNC with the influencer here. You've been granted a large platform where a lot of people follow you and what you say. It is your duty, morally, ethically, to, be more responsible in terms of raising awareness about climate change.
Well, now let's take a look at what's happening around the world in climate action.
From global policies to on-ground impact, here's your weekly international climate roundup.
Now, moving internationally, scientists around the world are currently worried about a massive marine heat wave spreading across parts of Pacific Ocean.
According to The Guardian, ocean temperatures from California to Hawaii and Mexico are significantly above normal levels, and warmer oceans create serious environmental problems.
Well, Gayatri, marine ecosystems are being disrupted. Fish populations are suffering, coral reefs are under stress, and biodiversity is being threatened.
And you know what's scary is that ocean temperatures highly influence the weather globally. Warmer oceans can increase storms, droughts, wildfires, and extreme heat events on land too.
Which means, even though this story sounds geographically distant, it affects globally. Climate systems are interconnected.
Well, scientists believe that greenhouse gas emissions and rising global temperatures are making marine heat waves more frequent and intense.
And honestly, the oceans have been silently protecting us for decades by absorbing excess heat from the global warming. But now, even they are reaching dangerously high limits.
Exactly. People often forget that healthy oceans are essential for life on Earth. They regulate climate, support food system, and produce oxygen.
So yes, finding Nemo is becoming harder because humans collectively forgot how to behave.
The call to action to this is reduce plastic pollution, support sustainable brands, and spread awareness about marine conservation.
And maybe after your every beach vacation, we should stop treating beaches like giant dustbins during vacations, right, Gayatri? The ocean is not a personal trash can.
Rightly said, Ritvik. Climate awareness should include oceans too. Protecting marine ecosystems is directly connected to protecting human life and our future generations.
Because once ecosystems collapse, there is no Control-Z button in this planet.
Another major international development comes from the United Nations General Assembly, which recently supported stronger global climate action and accountability.
Well, according to The Guardian, the resolution backs efforts to reduce fossil fuel dependence and support international climate responsibility.
This is significant because many countries most affected by climate disasters are actually the ones contributing the least to global pollution.
Meanwhile, there are some of the world's richest nations built like massive economies using fossil fuels for decades. So now, there is growing pressure for climate justice and fair responsibility.
Exactly. Vulnerable nations facing floods, droughts, rising sea levels, and displacement are demanding stronger action and financial support from wealthier countries.
And honestly, climate change has been deeply political now. Governments, industries, corporations, everyone is being questioned about their role.
Which is, I feel, necessary, Ritvik, because sustainability campaigns mean nothing if large-scale pollution continues unchecked behind the scenes.
Exactly, Gayatri. You cannot save the planet by replacing plastic straws while giant industries pollute the entire ecosystems daily.
The UN resolution reflects growing global urgency. Climate change is no longer just an environmental concern. It is becoming one of the biggest humanitarian and economic crises of this century.
Well, the call to action for this is young people like us should stay politically and socially aware about environmental policies. Voting, activism, and public discussions matter a lot.
Support organizations working on sustainability and climate justice. Even small participation creates a larger collective pressure.
Hey Gayatri, do you know the organization which does all of this? Hint, it's our own organization. Follow Climate Action Live on every platform. And don't underestimate informed conversations. Sometimes awareness begins with one uncomfortable but necessary discussion.
Because silence helps climate problems grow faster than solutions actually do.
Well, our final story comes from Germany, where climate experts are warning that the country might fail to meet its 2030 climate goals.
According to Reuters, despite major investments in renewable energy and green technology, emission reductions are still happening too slowly in sectors like transportation, construction, and energy production.
And this is particularly interesting, Gayatri, because Germany is often seen as one of the more environmentally cautious countries in the world.
Exactly, which is why it shows how difficult climate action actually is. Even wealthy countries with advanced infrastructure are struggling to balance industrial growth and environmental responsibility.
And honestly, that's one of the biggest global challenges right now. How do countries continue economic development without destroying the environment in this process?
Because, climate policies often involve difficult transitions. Industries need restructuring, energy systems need changing, and governments, they need long-term commitments.
Which politicians sometimes avoid because short-term politics and long-term climate solutions rarely go hand in hand.
True. But scientists continue warning that delays today will create much bigger consequences tomorrow.
Basically, the planet has been sending warning emails for years. Humanity just keeps clicking, remind me later.
And the call to action to this is, climate responsibility is global. Every country, every industry, and every individual has a role to play.
And perfection isn't the goal, progress is the goal. Sustainable choices made consistently matter more than dramatic one-day efforts.
Stay informed, question policies, support renewable energy, and encourage conversations around sustainability in schools, colleges, and workplaces.
And above all, don't be afraid to question. Because climate change may be a global crisis, but solution begins locally, personally, and collectively.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. But honestly, conversations about climate change should never really end. Because, unlike trends on social media, this is not something we can scroll past and forget tomorrow.
The truth is, our generation is standing at a very strange point in history. We are probably the first generation to fully witness the climate crisis in the real time, and possibly the last generation that still has the chance to slow it down.
We know that sounds dramatic, but just look around. Summers are harsher, air feels heavier, floods and wildfires are becoming normal headlines. Farmers are struggling, oceans are heating up. Seasons don't even feel like seasons anymore.
The scary part about climate change is that it doesn't arrive all at once, like in disaster movies. It happens slowly, quietly, year after year, until suddenly extreme heat, polluted air, and environmental destruction starts feeling normal.
And maybe that's the biggest danger of all, getting used to it. Folks, let's not get used to it. Let's be the generation that changes things. Today, we did not just look at climate as a crisis, but as a series of choices.
And with every choice, we pick a direction, either walking with the planet or choosing to ignore it.
This conversation is made possible by Climate Action Live, a youth-driven platform by Madhur Singh that takes climate awareness beyond conversations and connects it to the real-world action.
Well, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the Climate Action Live newsletter, link to which is in the show notes.
At its core, Climate Action Live creates space for young voices where learning, dialogue, and action come together.
If you want to be a part of this movement, do visit the Climate Action Live website and explore how you can contribute.
You can also check out the New Imaginations Research Center at Jindal School of Journalism and Communication, which works with young scholars to expand stories and perspectives, helping us understand climate and society through new narratives.
So, until next week when we meet again.
Keep asking yourself, are you choosing to be Earthwise
Or otherwise.